wanted to, I forgot to ask for an extra mic. Okay, it's not too bad to turn it. And Chair, we are ready.
All right, let's go ahead and call this meeting to order.
The computer. And for roll call, Commissioner Peters,
Here?
Commissioner Bond, Commissioner Alexander, Vice Chair Leonard,
Here.
Chair Mohammed.
Here.
All are present. Thank you.
Excellent. All right, let's move on then to the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll invite our newest member to lead us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the United States of America, to the republic
For which it stands,
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to items for public comment for items not on the agenda. Do we have any speakers this evening?
No, you do not.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on to receipt of correspondence. Do we have any correspondence this evening?
You did not receive anything.
Thank you. All right, moving on to community announcements by members / information items from staff. Staff, do you have anything in particular that you want to bring up at this point in time?
I do not. Anyone? No, we'll wait till the end.
Okay, sounds good. Members? Yes, Commissioner Alexander. Okay, thank you. Yes, Commissioner Peters.
Just seconding the welcome to Marcy, and then also just saying that I attended the pool opening celebration. But there was also wonderful things like snow cones, and it was just a really great event. And I know the weekends have been packed at the pool, and the kids are having fun, and camp seems to be going well, and lots of fun field trips. They've gone to the zoo, they're going bowling. So just, you know, it seems like we're off to a really good summer so far.
All right, other comments? Yes, Commissioner Leonard.
Thank you. To segue off of the pool comment, I wondered if it's possible for staff to put together a little just bullet points of pool of water safety. There are a lot of pools in our community that are not covered by lifeguards. They're at, small private areas, and I know it's not the city's responsibility for that safety per se, but just as an information item, because parents are watching their children, and I noticed some things today at the complex where I live, where it might be helpful just to say, hey, these are general pool safety rules for parents to be aware of, whether there's a lifeguard there or not. So that's just a suggestion.
Well, I would just comment that those pools have to be permitted by the health department. And during their inspections, I know they were pretty strict in Long Beach, but during those inspections, they should be looking and making sure that that signage and everything is there. So
There's
it's not there. Other than that, I'm not sure that we would want to take on that liability of, I mean, if you said this is where you live?
Oh, well, yeah, they have all the proper signage and
Okay.
everything is up. I'm just saying from,
Others.
the perspective of parents.
If I may, I think the commissioner is asking if we could put out a public service announcement reminding people of summer safety things that they should consider when everybody's having fun in the sun.
Yeah, thank you. Just, yeah, general water safety tips, something. But anyway, I'll defer to the the director on that. And then the other thing I just want to let everybody know about is that Culver City Bus has free fare all summer long for students. And they just put out their public service video, which is really great and is encouraging students to ride Culver City Bus for free, any line, anywhere, anytime. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I will also echo everyone else's welcome to our newest member, so thanks for joining our team. All right, if there are no further comments, we'll move on to item I1, update on the development of the parks plan.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner, or Chair and Vice Chair and Commissioners. I'm just pleased to report that the Parks Plan is moving along full steam ahead. They're going to a number of pop-up locations and events this summer. They've already been to a few. They went to the Dance for the Developmentally Disabled and Socialites in June, on June 14th, and they got a lot of good feedback from that community, which was great. They went to Culver West Alexander Park last Wednesday, I think, and did a little pop-up, and they got a really good response. That park's always jumping. They're going to be going to the Love Local and Helms Market. Oh, no, they already went there on Friday, June 28th. They're going to the Culver City Farmers Market on July 16th. They'll be going to the Movies in the Park for the Parks Make Life Better movie on July 20th. They're setting up a table at the Senior Center on July 24th. They'll be going to the Farmers Market again at the end of July, and then they'll be at the Fiesta. They're also going to be going to, I think, the day camp next. Yeah, all the camps on Monday to meet with the kids in the camp programs and get their feedback. And so they're like really getting out there and going where the people are to get a lot of great information. They're moving along. They're doing a great job so far. They're also going to be providing, and we can send you this information in an email, but they'll be doing a virtual summer update on Tuesday, July 23rd, and it's going to be virtual. So we can send you that information, or we'll be putting it on social media as well. And then we have coming up on August 24th. That's going to be the pop-up at the Fiesta. And then they're going to be doing a fall draft, and we'll send you all this information, but I'm just announcing it for anyone who's watching or listening. There'll be a fall draft plan meeting in September on the 24th, and another one on October 2nd. Well, they'll start coming back with like a draft of the plan to get feedback and then make some final modifications. Additionally, staff and I met with the Parks Plan team and a couple weeks ago, and they're starting now. They're actually kind of gave some really rough draft ideas on some things, modifying some of the parks with some really good ideas and some cool things. I don't want to say anything specific because it could change, but they're doing some good work, and I think we're going to have a really good product at the end of this. Yeah, I don't know if you have any questions or if anyone has anything to add.
Yes, Commissioner Alexander.
Oh, it's on? Oh. When you do the pop-up events, are there any variations in terms of how you do it, or is it pretty much the same approach to each one?
I'm not sure I understand.
In terms of how it's presented, where I'm going with this is, you may recall at the, I guess they called it the Super Committee for the Olympic Games, where everybody was brainstorming, and one of the things that I brought up that seemed to have some traction with the people was the success that your department has with the pop-up events. So if you are doing anything different or just learning from that experience and keeping in mind that might be something that would be used for that in the future.
Okay. Yeah, mostly what my understanding, what they're doing is they're engaging with people, getting them to fill out the surveys for the most part, and explaining to them what the process is, what type of input we're getting and trying to get, and really just trying to get them to fill out the surveys and let them know what's coming up in the future too, to like engage in the process down the road as well. So, and then we have opportunities where they can win prizes.
Yes.
some of our giveaways that I know.
I actually had a comment on that, too. Every time I wear the hat, I think we could sell these, especially to the men. Not at my age, used to men coming up and approaching me, but they all want to know about the hat, so that's working really well. And a final question that I had, and I'm not sure if this was solidified in the timing, but I know the item came up in the meeting, the joint committee meeting with the school district about the joint use agreement, and I know that, I'm trying to remember her name from Olin, who was here, was suggesting that that would be one good opportunity. So I don't know if they've had a chance to look at those models from other places and folding it in, because I know that sometime in the next quarter or so may be the next joint meeting with the school district in terms of how that all works. In other words, how the joint agreement would be tied together with what's happening with the park master plan.
I do believe they are looking, because they're looking at that. They're also looking at, West LA College and other spaces where there's opportunities. So they're looking at all of our opportunities and looking at them that way.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right. No further comments or questions here. Do we need to receive and file? No, we're good. Okay. All right then, moving on to consent calendar items. Approval of the minutes, or C1, approval of minutes for a regular Parks, Recreation, Community Services Commission meeting of June 4th of 2024. Are there any updates, corrections, clarifications needed in those minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to receive as submitted, receive and file as submitted.
I have a motion by Vice Chair Leonard, seconded by Commissioner Peters, to approve the minutes for the regular Parks, Recreation, and Community Service Commission meeting of June 4th, 2024. And you may start voting. And just so everyone's aware, our new Commissioner, Bon, her iPad is not working tonight, so she will be doing everything vocally. So, Commissioner Bon, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the votes are in, and that passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on to the order of the agenda. Are there any requests to adjust the agenda as set? Okay. Commissioner Leonard, or Vice Chair Leonard?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I appreciate all of the work that was put into this agenda. There's a lot of material. My suggestion is that the item A4 come before A3, and the reason for that is that if there is a consideration of forming a racket sports ad hoc subcommittee, and there are two people identified for that, then there can be sort of an understanding about that activity and how those two people may or may not be able to frame their involvement in the other community service, appointments. So I just thought that it might be helpful to have that item first, plus we also have members of the public here and possibly online who are interested in speaking. If we can address that first and then proceed to the appointment or reappointment of members to commission ad hoc subcommittees. It's just a suggestion.
Okay. Just need some nodding heads on this one, I believe, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I think that looks like it's unanimous, so we'll move A4 before A3 then.
Thank you.
All right. Any other adjustments? If not, then we will move on to item A1. So that is the selection of the chair and vice chair. So, yep, So we'll start with nominations. Yes, Commissioner Alexander.
Yes, I would like to nominate Jane Leonard to be chair.
All right. Do we have a second?
I second that nomination.
Okay. All right. Any other nominations for chair? If not, then we would need to, we have a motion to select Commissioner Member Leonard as the Chair of the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission for fiscal year 2024-2025.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Alexander, seconded by, it was Commissioner Bond, vocally. To approve the selection of Commissioner Jane Leonard for Chair of the PRCS Commission. And you may go ahead and vote. Oh, wait. Now you can go ahead and vote. And Commissioner Bond?
Aye.
And the votes are in, and that passes unanimously.
All right, then I retire from the chair and pass the baton to the new chair. And I
think we just-
physically move.
Do we physically move? Or?
If you really want to be in the seat, you can, or for this meeting, you don't have to.
All right.
I'll
I don't know, I mean, I've been here where like literally the
You're like,
nameplates
take me out of the
change
center.
meeting, so.
Sometimes staff comes and they just move the thing that says chair and vice chair from one to the next, and the people keep their seats, so.
It's okay. I am absolutely fine with you staying in that position.
Okay.
right now.
Fine.
Next time is fine. Thank you all for your votes of confidence. Okay, so now we'll be moving on to the position of Vice Chair of the PRCS Commission. Do we have any nominations for Vice Chair?
I nominate Crystal Alexander for vice chair.
Okay. A motion by Commissioner Bond. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
A second by Commissioner. I have to get used to that, Mohammed. Or Crystal Alexander as Vice Chair.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Bond, seconded by Commissioner Mohammed, to approve the selection of Commissioner Crystal Alexander for Vice Chair of the PRCS Commission. And you may start voting. And Commissioner Bond?
Aye.
And that motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all very much. We'll be moving on to A2, the drafting of a Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission biannual report to the City Council, including accomplishments during the period of January through June of 2024, and an update on the upcoming 2024-25 plans, and 2, authorization of transmittal of the report to the City Council. Do we need a staff report? Maybe we can have a very, very brief report on our duties here.
So based on the Culver City policy, at least twice a year, all commissions, boards, and committees need to provide an update to City Council about their progress with announced scheduled activities from the last 6 months and your plans on what your scheduled activities will be for the next 6 months. So we are looking tonight at what you want to talk about from January to June and what you're looking towards for July through December. So staff, to give you a jumping off board, staff has recommended the following statements. So for your highlights, you created during this timeframe the Field, Room, and Pool Allocation and Rental Policies Ad Hoc Subcommittee to complete an initial review of all 3 policies and make recommendations to staff. You approved as amended the athletic space allocation and usage policy, facility use policy, and municipal plunge policy that will go into effect July 1st. You received and discussed a presentation from Olin regarding the information gathering phase of the Parks Plan. You received a presentation from Johnson Favreau regarding the final version of the feasibility study concerning the future of Veterans Memorial Park and Bill Botts Fields at Culver City Park, and you gave recommendations accordingly. You approved the transmittal to City Council the PRCS Commission letter for the fiscal year 24-25 budget recommendations. And then some goals that you can be looking towards. You all have spoken in past about collaborating with other Culver City Commissions, boards, and committees on issues in areas of mutual concern and overlapping jurisdiction as deemed appropriate by City Council. You are wishing to support the PRCS department with the Parks Plan by building community interest and community involvement in the project. And you have wished to hold specifically chosen meetings at park locations in order to learn about issues at that park location and allow the community easier access to attend the meeting. This is all open for your thoughts and changes, and that concludes the staff report.
Thank you. Are there any comments or recommendations or modifications from commissioners from the staff's recommendations? Yes, Commissioner Peters.
I would just like to make sure we really highlight how much work was done, importantly by staff, on those field, room, and pool allocation policies. I think that was a really big lift done mostly by staff and a little bit by myself and Chair Mohammed, or Commissioner Mohammed. So just really, I think, highlighting those. One thing, I would love to see on, well, it should be our 2024 goals and plans and not 2023 goals and plans. Unfortunately, we're halfway through 2024. That, we can think about is a discussion on how camp slots are allocated. Just because, as we saw this year, summer camp for the Vets Park went in approximately 6 minutes. And so thinking about, again, as much as it kills me because I'm usually like on the button on time, thinking about should we be thinking of some sort of lottery system or something else with the camps, and or thinking about is there a way to offer more summer camp access. So if there be something where we could add that to our agenda in the fall, because that puts it in good state to get it in before we need to start thinking about signing up for camps in March.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on that type of thing or that item?
Actually, I was wondering, Adam, if this would be a good time to bring it up. So I was on the Culver City unofficial Facebook page when someone commented about a friend who was moving into Culver City, and they wanted to know where they could send them and their family for things to do, for their kids to be able to do. And my first thought was, hey, Parks and Recs, we've got all of these programs. At least that's what I remember when my child was little. And so I went in, and I did not find very many programs. And I would like to really see us build that back up again. We used to have dance for kids. There was tap, there was ballet, there was jazz, depending on the time of year. And then at the Christmas concert that was always there, the kids would come up and dance. It was just a cute thing to see. But so we offered these different things. Right now, the only thing we have for art is pottery. The only thing we have for music is piano for children. Not that any of these are bad, but it would sure be nice to see an expansion of that. And so what we might do is, I went around and I looked at different parks and recs in the area. I looked at Santa Monica, I looked at what El Segundo had, I also looked at what West Hollywood had, and how they had it set up on their website. And so Santa Monica, by far and large, has the most. They have so many different options for different types of summer camps for kids. And it would seem like we have all of this technology and all of these movie companies that are here, that it would be interesting to see if we could actually perhaps partner with them, whether it's building apps. I mean, one of the options was a Lego camp, a Lego building camp. You know, there would be kids that would go crazy about that. My husband would go crazy about that. So even my teenager would go crazy about that. She said, heck, I would join that. So just a few things to maybe we could be looking at for the future of how to build back up what we have to offer.
So how could the commission, how would that be framed as an item for the commission to be working somehow on a particular thing or in conjunction with staff?
I think it might be in conjunction with staff. I mean, I would be happy to be, if we set a committee, I would be happy to be on it, to be looking to enhance the programs that we offer, to expand the programs that we offer, not just for kids, but for adults as well. I mean, cooking, sewing, other things that might, you just don't see these things available that much anymore, and there's definitely interest in it. But you can't even find it out there. So.
All right, thank you. Other commissioners?
Yeah, so none of these items that we've mentioned so far are agendized at this point, so they don't exist in our agenda. So perhaps we can make a more generalized statement along the lines of perhaps examine services offered by PRCS and explore additional options to make available to the community, something along those lines.
That would be a commission level concept. Yes. This is why we have Commissioner Paul V. Mohammed here, who's been here for how many years now?
I don't want to talk about it.
But thank you, yes, so that's the idea of kind of focusing in on that kind of thing. That's great language, by the way.
Can you repeat the language?
Sure. Examine services offered by PRCS and explore additional options to make available to the community.
Thank you.
Can I make one more comment that I would like to see, if it's at all possible, be agendized? I would like to see how we could possibly support the plunge a little bit more. From what I understand is we're having issues with lifeguards, having enough lifeguards, and so that the pool is sometimes being closed when it is supposed to be open. And so I don't know how, as a commission, we could help with that, how we would work, how we would agendize that. And also, quite frankly, I would like to see the restrictions on registration dropped, because that's an accessibility issue for a number of people. So I'm not sure how we would frame that.
So that's like an operational item that would have to be, my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, would need to be discussed as adding something to an agenda, having it agendized specifically if we had multiple nodding heads. In terms of for the purposes of this, that actually may fall under the language that Mr. Commissioner Mohammed just stated as well. That's the way I see it, because there are a lot of things like that that, kind of would fall under that header. And these things do need to be somewhat general so that we can land our items within them.
I will just share that we agendize items. Tonight, it's on are we on A5 tonight? But there's normally an agenda item for discussing the calendar coming up, and that's where is the appropriate time to bring up new agenda items.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And I was still learning that last month, so, it takes a little while to get some of that. But thank you for your input. Vice Chair Alexander.
Chair Leonard, I think that you may recall when you were on the Finance Advisory Committee that we did the similar kind of things that Commissioner Mohammed was doing with respect to trying to create sort of umbrella and overarching kind of policies, and then we could use that as a method through the year of going down the list of more specific priorities that may be brought up by the other commissioners. I have one item that may or may not fall under that umbrella that was just created by Commissioner Mohammed. And it has to do actually with what I think Commissioner Bond said and also what Commissioner Peters had to say with respect to how we as a commission can help the department look at whatever systems they have that are collecting data so that we can get the best data-driven solutions possible regarding usage patterns, any kind of survey information that we have, be it dated or maybe it's not dated, that can assist us, assist staff, and assist us as well to make the best decisions up here. I still don't feel that I have a good idea of how many different kind of systems you have that you're using to collect usage data that could be helpful in many of these things that were mentioned.
All eyes are on me to respond to that. I think, so I guess the question is whether we would loop that into this sort of general, the commission assisting the PRCS department in evaluating activities and operational items that we could, help participate in. But to me, what you've just said about data and maybe making sure that that we do have access to data in these operations, I don't know if that's quite the same. Director Stevens, do you have a perspective on that?
I guess I'm just trying to understand the question.
Okay.
But if you want to know if we collect data, or if we have data, I mean, we have data on our classes. We know how many people sign up for our classes, how many people sign up for our day camps. We know how many people use the pool because we know how many rentals we have that we do. I don't know if this is appropriate, but I know that I've been looking at some other ways to track number of people in our facilities and maybe some of our other spaces that, I mean, maybe if you wanted to have a discussion later on and an agenda item or something, I could provide some feedback on that. I don't want to get too much off the rails here and
Right.
go outside of the topic, but I definitely have some things I'm working on. But we do have data that we track in a lot of our areas.
Okay. So,
if you, maybe when you get to the item on agendas, if you wanted to agendize something in the future to have us maybe show you, that could be something you could put on a future agenda.
okay, but for the purposes of creating our goals and plans, it sounds like that would be under the umbrella of the prior item, potentially.
It could be, or you could just add a word or two to that previous item to include data, programs, and data.
Okay. How does the item, or how does that suggested item read now? Mr. Adam?
So we could change it, you could change it to say, examine services and data offered by PRCS and explore additional options to make them available to the community. Or you could put, examine services offered by PRCS and enrollment data and explore additional options to make them available to the community.
May I make a recommendation?
Yeah.
Perhaps we should just make it examine PRCS services and data and get rid of offered by.
Great. That's excellent. Do we have agreement on that addition? Thank you very much.
Yes.
And any comments on the others that were suggested in the above from January to June to include Commissioner Peters' comment about ensuring that there is reference to staff coordination and staff collaboration?
May I make another suggestion?
Yes.
So instead of initial review, thorough and complete review? Exhaustive is also a good word.
Top to bottom, A to Z.
I think, does that capture what you're, okay.
Yeah, good. Very good.
And I didn't even bring my thesaurus today.
Complete, a thorough and complete. We need another adjective or something instead of complete twice.
Comprehensive. There's-
Comprehensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Did the use policy go to council yet? It did go to council, right?
I don't think it needed to, as I recall.
No, these are internal administrative
Oh, okay.
policies, so
Oh,
they've
okay.
not
I
been
just
going to
wanted to
council.
make sure anything that we sent to council was acknowledged as such, but, okay. Any other comments from commissioners or staff on that list? Okay.
I like it.
Okay, then I'll need a motion to accept the list as developed as by staff and commissioners this evening.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Mohammed, seconded by Commissioner Peters, to approve as amended the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission biannual report to the City Council, including accomplishments during the period January through June of 2024, and an update on the upcoming 24-25 plans, and authorization of transmittal of the report to City Council. And you may start voting. Commissioner Bond?
Aye.
And the votes are in, and that passes unanimously.
Thank you all very, very much. And now, based on the reorder of our agenda, we will have A4 first. And that is a consideration of various ways the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission can discuss public comment concerning the racket sports in Culver City. 2, consideration of various ways the PRCS Commission can recommend to city staff and city council resolutions for issues with racket sports. And 3, consideration of forming a PRCS Commission racket sports ad hoc subcommittee to complete a specific task. And 4, if desired, appoint 2 PRCS Commission members to the newly formed ad hoc subcommittee. There was a lot of material associated with this item. Thank you very much for all of it, including the rules for Brown Act and committee, conduct, and all of those things were really, really helpful to have in front of us again. So I think let's start with a staff report that basically hits the primary points. Please.
You want me to give it? Okay. For tonight, we are discussing various racket sports and how they operate on the various racket courts that we have in Culver City. Primarily, these sports include pickleball, paddle tennis, and tennis. These games, even though at their core are very similar, they do have different dimensions, different balls, different rackets, and a different scoring system. So there are variations to all three games. Culver staff did do a survey. Sorry, I don't want to talk about that quite yet. What I want to talk about is there are options with courts with these games to where you can have them be specifically focused on each individual game, or you can dual stripe them so that multiple games can be played on a single court. There are ways to have a pickleball overlay on paddle tennis, and you can fit up to 4 pickleball courts on an overlay for tennis, depending on how you want to stripe them and how you want to lay them out. So those are options when considering the courts and how to serve most of the sports. So back in 2022, Culver City PRCS did do a survey. The way this survey was structured was it was targeted towards all players of the racket sports. So we put posters up at each court, and we also did an e-blast sending out a QR link. At the time, the director wanted to make sure we understood where the results were coming from, so each section was specific to their location. So we knew if a person filled out the QR code that was emailed to them, we knew they were filling it out from the email versus taking it while they were waiting to play a game at like Vets Park. So at that time, the survey opened in October and closed right before Thanksgiving. We had 864 people respond to that survey. Within the survey, we did ask what types of changes you would be willing to have at the courts, and throughout, they were given 3 options: to convert to pickleball, stripe for dual-purpose tennis pickleball, or dual-purpose paddle tennis pickleball, because we have paddle tennis courts and we have tennis courts, so we kept them specific and separate, or to have no change at all. And the majority ended up saying no change at all in that survey result. At your March 9th meeting, this was discussed, and at that specific meeting, it was decided to, it was recommended to staff by the commission to leave tennis courts alone and discuss it at another time, and to convert 1 paddle tennis court to dual striped for pickleball and paddle tennis. One per year, per fiscal year, so that over a period of time, they would all be switched over. Throughout the last few months, without getting into the specific details of the dates, we have had public comment about interactions that have happened at our tennis courts with pickleball players, with tennis players, and with paddle tennis players, and how the neighbors have felt about those. So it came up with the commission to discuss various ways that you could hear from both sides what they need and what they want with Culver City's racket courts. Some various options that you have is you can call a special meeting devoted just to the racket courts in Culver City. You could have an ad hoc subcommittee meet with staff and make recommendations to the commission. You can also request that city staff hold a community meeting. It's important to remember that you, as commissioners, cannot hold a community meeting, so it would have to be done by staff, and that community meeting would not be under the Brown Act or Robert's rules, so it would be a very different type of meeting. which we can discuss more post the staff report. And that concludes in a very abbreviated form my staff report. So staff is here to answer any questions, and you also have 5 people here to make public comment.
Thank you, Adam. Before we get to public comment, I just want to make sure that it's understood that tonight we're not coming up with all the resolutions and figuring it all out tonight by any means. This is a process, and that we are here to receive public comment and also to discuss some structure for ways that we can discuss with the community and hear all the voices involved as laid out in the staff report. So let's go ahead and have our public comment, please.
You have 5 people who have signed up. I will start with announcing the first 3. We have Paula Wilson, Tom Wilson, and Howie Jacobowitz. Did I get it right? So Paula Wilson, you are first. Would you, Chair, how much time would you like to give them?
I think 3 minutes is fine. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Paula Wilson. And first of all, I want to thank you all for what you do for this city. It's very commendable, and we've lived here right in back of the paddle tennis courts for about 40 years. So we've lived with it for a very long time. I would like my first minute to just have you listen to our security camera for 1 minute. And this is, I just want you to think about the fact that we listen to this from 8 in the morning till 10 p.m. Oh, you can't really hear it. It's so much louder than this. That's at 8 a.m. Sometimes 7:45. This is at 9:55. That is 15 feet from my house every day. So I do thank you all for fixing the lights. It seems to make a difference on almost all nights, with occasional players ignoring the lights and still playing by the street lights. Sadly, the lights do not take care of the mind-numbing noise that the residents have to put up with from the ridiculous hours of 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. every hour of every day, including weekends and holidays. There have been countless articles written on the harmful impact this noise has on nearby residents. Most studies are monitoring from 100 feet away. Our home is a mere 15 feet from the constant, annoying sound of the game, not to mention the booming voices accompanying it. It has come to our attention that there has been some funding allocated for noise mitigation, but not enough to do the job in a truly meaningful way. I need to ask how you would even consider that you could mitigate this sound by only partially covering the area of the courts. I implore you to do the research necessary to avoid making the mistakes so many other communities have made by spending precious dollars, parks dollars, on something that does not solve the problem.
And that's your time.
Thank you.
Tom Wilson?
Well,
Yes, my name is Tom Wilson, and I also live right behind the paddle tennis courts, where the people that get the paddle tennis balls and the tennis and the racket balls, or, excuse me, whatever they are, pickleballs, we get them in our backyard almost every day. I noticed that you've placed new signs with new sets of rules up at the court, which is nice to see that it's been looked at least. There are 30 rules listed on these two signs, and only one addresses the needs that we have brought before this group in the past. That one, be respectful of noise volume, is pretty weak. Players don't seem to consider swearing at the top of their lungs to be disrespectful, and they actually encourage the volume of cheering at the scoring of a point. And it doesn't even mention boom boxes and music. The players seem to feel this is a form of respect for the neighbors and for their other players, but I don't agree. Is the commission enforcing the hours of 8 to 10 and the idea that teachers have to make appointments and pay to be in the paddle tennis courts? I went by this morning at 7:30 in the morning. The gates were wide open, and the teacher had already set up a class in the court at 7:30 in the morning. However, I'm not sure he was actually breaking one of the rules because you've taken away the time limits. There is no time limits listed on any of these signs there. So I guess maybe he can be there 24 hours a day now. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but apparently it's been done. And it certainly breaks a promise that you folks made to us previously. The good news is you've banned drinks containing red dye number 40 from the courts. Now, it's my understanding that red dye can cause hyperactivity in some people, so maybe you think this is a way to calm down the players. I don't think that's the case. You know, very little has been done since we came here 2 months ago and explained our problems. We note that we need change. As Paul has explained, this is driving everybody crazy, waking us up, going at different hours, way beyond where they should be. And note that we're not asking to ban these games. We're just saying put them in a location that is appropriate for the games and where the only people they can disrespect are each other. So I hope that you will consider the neighbors when you make your decisions on what to do with these courts. On a side note, I do want to say that our special needs child and his class did attend the music and dance event that Ted was just talking about and had a blast. And we've got great videos to remember it by. So thank you, Ted. Keep that up. It's an awesome event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Howie Jacobowitz.
Hello, all. As he said, I'm Howie Jacobowitz. I'm a longtime Culver City resident. I've played paddle tennis and pickleball on our courts for over 20 years. I love our parks. I love our courts. And I'm here not to advocate for one constituency so much over another, but to advocate for the most efficient use of our court space. To my mind, the number one problem is congestion, meaning there are too many people playing on too few spaces, which dovetails very well to what the Wilsons just said. I think there's an answer, and I was very pleased in looking at the agenda, the attachment, particularly attachment number 2. I think the answer is right there. If you look at the bottom picture on attachment 2, it shows 4 pickleball courts on a traditional tennis court. That's the answer, not just to the congestion. It's a cheap and it's a quick answer. You can have 16 pickleball players playing where ordinarily 2 play. And that removes, for the close proximity to the Wilson's house and to the others, like at Culver West, not Culver West, but McManus Park, where there's homes right on top of it. It's further away, and it's fair. I don't know if anybody saw the New York Times today, but there was an article about pickleball. There's other things, but it's primarily about pickleball, and it said that it's not just the fastest in terms of increasing population sports, It's been the fastest for many years now, and it should continue to be. There's over 50% more pickleball players now than there are traditional tennis players, and I think that number will grow. And there's nothing being done to address this burgeoning constituency, and this will do it. If you dual purpose the traditional tennis courts, and I think there are 7 of them in Culver City, you've eliminated the problem, and you can then address maybe there shouldn't be any pickleball at the paddle tennis courts because it is too much of a burden for the neighbors. I'm very sympathetic to that. So that's my main push. The second thing I wanted to talk about in my remaining 30 seconds is signage. I agree. I was very disappointed to see the new signage. I and many others had written on our own time drafts of improvements to what we had. We were told that the city's going to do their own signs, but we would be consulted. I wasn't consulted, and nobody I know is consulted, and as a result, you have signs that if anybody who plays there knows, these signs are written by people that have no knowledge of what goes on here. It's just an out-of-touch kind of a comment. In addition, there are now signs that are up that conflict with one another, which is worse than having no signs at all, because it just adds to arguments. Those are my 2 main things. Thanks.
Thank you.
Barry Goldstein?
Hi. Greetings, Commissioners. I'm just here tonight as the closest homeowner to the paddle tennis courts. We're right across the alley. In fact, Commissioner Mohammed, I believe you are now further away from me than the paddle tennis courts are from the outside wall of my house. So just to express my bona fides up here. Really what's happened is the paddle tennis courts, which are by our house, which are like sort of the classic first paddle tennis courts, and we understand there's some history there, the growth of the sport has just outpaced the pragmatic properties of that space. And I just want to remind you, as probably the person who bears that burden more than most residents, except for my neighbors here. Most lawsuits that have been challenging paddle tennis, pickleball courts talk in terms of hundreds of feet. I think 500 feet is the recommend, if you look at the sort of national pickleball websites, 500 feet is a recommended distance. That takes you clear across the other side of Culver Boulevard. It takes you west past the alley on the other side of Olenda by a significant amount. Sound barriers are recommended to fully enclose the space. A 10-foot sound barrier seems to reduce the decibel level by 10. That would be a 10-foot wall, which I don't think anybody's talking about a solid wall. But I just want to talk about some of the numbers. Pickleball is being recorded at somewhere between 65 and 85 decibels. Normal background noise in the city is about 45. And just as a reminder, 45 to 65 is not a 50% increase. A decibel level reading doubles with every 10 points on the decibel scale. It's a logarithmic scale. So in fact, pickleball is quadruple the sound of the background noise. And the frequency of the pickleball paddle is somewhere akin. The only thing I could find that was close is the backup warning signal for a truck, which, as you know, is intended for its annoyance and registration. So even though the decibels may not be damagingly high, the frequency in all the lawsuits that have been taken out by neighbors is particularly annoying. And as a clinical psychologist, I can tell you that this sound triggers a real fight or flight energy in the mind. It's an alert that signals us to danger. There are frequencies that do different things in your neurology, and these high-level tones are designed on purpose in alarm systems in order to set you off, and listening to them for 14 hours a day certainly does so. Thank you.
Andy Guerrero?
Good evening. I spoke here with some of my Wagner Street neighbors a couple of months ago, and at that time, I handed out some materials regarding the proposed space conditions for, or location conditions for pickleball. In regards to the recently mentioned topic of restriping paddleball with pickleball, I'm alarmed by that because that's kind of the situation we're in right now. The issues we've discussed before was that we bought our homes kind of with the pre-existing condition of paddleball. Most of us, we've lived there now for 25 years. It hasn't been an issue, but the pickleball that has kind of come in has become an issue for all of us in the neighborhood. We are very close. We've previously discussed, they've sort of, given all of the new attention that pickleball is given, there are some new rules. None of that has really been applied to the courts at Allenda. One of the things that really surprised me pleasantly was that I recently was at the Fox Hills in Culver City Park, and their setup for pickleball is much more akin to what is mentioned in the specifications. So moving forward, if you're saying, how do we plan for this? Restriping or multi-use for tennis courts is a great way to start. But the actual layout and the distance, that is something that we do not have the luxury that the Fox Hills courts provide. That is something, if you're looking at Lindbergh or any of the other places that might have underutilized tennis courts, that would be, a consideration. The sound mitigation hasn't happened yet. We can't really talk about that. But overall, there has been an extreme rise in just sort of the sport. They're competitive, so there is a lot of competition. There's a lot of noise. With that, there's the boom boxes and all of these other, distractions. And I am still working from home. I hear it all the time, and I like that the courts are being used. That's kind of not the issue. It's just pickleball has introduced a lot of new headaches that go with it. I would really kind of just like to roll it back to paddleball. If that was an option, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that was your final speaker.
Okay. Thank you very much for your input, as always. Okay, so we have a number of things to do in this item. Considering ways that we can come together again with the public in the ways that were laid out. How we can recommend resolutions. Let's start with that before going into the potential for forming a racket sports ad hoc subcommittee. Let's just hear the ideas about how we can interface with the public on these items. Commissioner Peters just edged you out there.
All right.
Well, one is, I have one sort of question, which is how much of this discussion is already getting rolled into the Parks Master Plan and thinking about the use of where pickleball is, what our courts are doing. So, if it is in the master plan, how much do we want to duplicate effort? But it does seem that it is perhaps the case we should go back to the public. I know the survey was done in 2022?
Correct, 2022, October of 2022.
And it seems perhaps it is worthwhile to have some sort of way to go back to the public and think about if there is so much demand for pickleball on the Olinda courts, it seems like perhaps we need more space for pickleball. But maybe that, again, is something that the Parks Master Plan is already thinking about.
Is that a question?
So is that?
So I can comment on that. I can say that even outside of the Parks Master Plan, it's something I've been looking at. I know that our consultant is also looking as well. I mean, they're looking for additional park space, like open space. They're looking for additional opportunities for a wide range of things, not just pickleball courts. But that pickleball courts, obviously they understand, what the issues that we're dealing with and what's going on. So that is definitely something that they're looking at. It's something that I'm just looking at on my own. But also, understanding that any new courts being built, there's a cost involved. And so that, nothing's going to be built in the near future anyway. At least I don't think so. But yes, we are definitely looking at that for long range stuff.
And just one more thought on that, it would be, perhaps there's a way, going back to this question of data, we could get data on the actual use of the tennis courts by folks playing tennis. I know that in the survey, people said, don't touch the tennis courts, but do we know that they're actually being used at the same capacity that, say, pickleball is? Because to me, it seems like the easiest solution would be to move pickleball out of Olinda and put it somewhere nearby, either at the tennis courts at Betts or tennis courts at Lindbergh. And that seems like the simplest solution, given what we have. But I know that takes more, thinking about public comment and thinking about those sorts of things. That is not also.
So I would just comment that there are homes near the courts at Betts too. There are homes not too far away. I mean, farther than 15 feet. I would also just add that there, within the city, I think it's in the report somewhere, but we only have, I think, 8 tennis courts.
Correct.
And we actually have 11 paddle tennis courts. So we have far more paddle tennis courts in the city than we do tennis courts.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Mohammed?
So I had brought this up in an earlier meeting that, it's in the item as well as one of the potential methods to have conversations about this topic. But I would say probably, when we did the last kind of look at pickleball, it was really just a survey, right? And I think it could be useful to have a community meeting on this topic, probably in kind of more of a World Cafe kind of setup, where people can get their ideas out there and be heard. So that I would advocate for something along those lines. This is a tough topic for us because, like the director said, we don't have any space. So we are making do with what we've got, and we are trying to thread the needle, really, to satisfy a variety of different constituencies. Unfortunately, I think when we really examined this thoroughly the last time, I don't think we really reached out to the nearby residents that well. Although, the idea was that the survey was available nearby and that we would get feedback, but it was really aimed at people who were racket sport participants, right? So I think we've been getting a lot of feedback from the nearby residents, which is completely valid, and you've been heard. But we're trying to figure out how we can do something about that. And I think I don't know how much the racket sports community has heard from that end of the angle too. And I think a World Cafe or a community meeting would allow those voices to get a little more amplification than they are currently getting. And I just advocate for community members talking to each other. So I think that is important. So that was what I would push for. I agree with Commissioner Peters. Clearly, pickleball is going to be something we are going to have a plan for in the Parks Master Plan. And, you know, we've already seen some conceptual ideas from the special study that was done for vets and Culver City Park. So those are some initial ideas, but all of those ideas are quite far away, and clearly we have an acute problem now that we need to try to do something about. Again, I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form that finding a solution to this is going to be easy. It is going to be very difficult. But I think if we continue to talk about it and float all kinds of ideas, we can come up with something that might be a reasonable way forward for all the interested parties.
Okay, thank you. Before I take other comments, I just want to clarify the difference between a special meeting and a community meeting is in a special meeting that is held by the commission and is agendized formally and adheres to Brown Act process. And a community meeting is pretty much something that is put together by staff, is that correct? And is noticed through the regular city channels, and people can come more like a workshop-y kind of forum type situation. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
And I would just add that, you know, those two meetings have two very different, you know, anyone who went to any of the feasibility meetings knows that when you start kind of opening things up, you know, things can really open up and sometimes they can maybe get away from you. Whereas like in a special meeting, it's more focused, you know, there's time limits, and so people tend to stay more focused. It allows for, you know, I think everyone to have their say rather than maybe a few people monopolizing time and things like that. And also I would have to say that a community meeting would require a lot more staff resources on our end, which is something I'd have to take into consideration to see if that's something or when I'd be able to, you know, our staff are spread pretty thin right now, especially with summer going. So it's a lot more work. I don't know what our capacity is right now for something that would potentially be really large like that as a community meeting.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Did you want to add
So,
on?
yeah, so that is specifically why I mentioned the World Cafe format for the community meeting, which is a little more controllable, still allows people to give feedback. Commissioner Alexander and I, Vice Chair Alexander and I participated in that with the Olympics subcommittee meeting that happened. It's a good way to get a lot of ideas out there, allow many people to be heard without it devolving into combativeness, I would say. So that is one way, you know, we could structure the community meeting to be a little more manageable. I do understand that there are community resources, PRCS resources are stretched thin. But I have a feeling that one way or another, it's going to get stretched by this topic. If it's not in a community meeting, it might be just individuals constantly asking questions and engaging staff. And I know there's been already a number of incidents at the courts that have drawn staff and put staff in very uncomfortable positions, which I was very unhappy to hear about. So I think we need to find some better solution to move forward. So that's why I'm advocating for that.
Thank you. Vice Chair Alexander.
Yes, I have an initial question. It was my understanding when we adopted all the facility rules that there is the authority to the director of the department to make certain determinations, including hours of operation of facilities. Is that correct?
I believe that was in the municipal code. Yeah.
Municipal code, thank you. That being the case, the question that I have is, we were told that the hours of operation for the paddle pickle, supposed to be paddle pickle, courts along Alinda are 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. PM, thank you. What are the hours of operation for construction in a residential area?
Well, I know 8 a.m. is the start time.
Yes, but I
not sure.
doubt that it's 10 p.m. for the end time. So I'll just put a pin in that for some.
I would have to
thought.
double check too with, I don't know what Culver City's, most noise ordinances, like when it comes to like noise from like residential areas is typically 10 o'clock. But I'd have to confirm that for Culver City.
But for construction, I believe it's earlier.
For construction, it may be.
What I would like to see in any of our solutions, if we can, for soliciting public input, is to ensure that we do a deep dive in data gathering from subject matter experts with respect to racket sports, construction of the courts themselves in terms of the lines, the safety of various configurations, because I think that's an important consideration. So I gave some thought to that myself, and I reached out to a woman that I know who's a professional instructor for several decades now, and she actually lives in the Fox Hills area. Her name is Susan Nardi. She has a college degree in recreation and about 10 different certificates in pickleball and tennis construction. And I brought this up to her saying, you know, this is a very difficult conundrum that we're dealing with here in Culver City. And grant you, she does both pickleball and tennis, so she knows a lot about them. And her conclusions would be that it would enhance the quality of recreational activity in Culver City if we can make every move possible to have dedicated pickleball courts. In other words, not dual striped tennis pickle courts, but dedicated pickleball courts. The reason for that is the visual acuity that's needed for hand-eye coordination sports like tennis and pickleball. Now, I'm going to ask you to envision what it's like when you're playing a tennis game. Even recreational tennis players, even the old ones like myself, if you've been playing long enough, you can hit a ball and it's easily going to be going 40 miles an hour, potentially more, especially if men are playing. So imagine if you're hitting the ball from the dais and you're going to be hitting it over the net, which is going to be further than where the speaker's podium is there, and then the back of the court's going to be somewhere near that wall there. A 40-plus mile an hour ball. And what you're relying on is that the people that you're going to play with are going to make the correct call when that lands either in or outside a line. This is often the contention, and probably why you're hearing, even in the pickleball area, why people are talking about it. That's very fast. When you add the visual acuity problems of dual striping a court, you cause even more confusion, especially for the tennis players, because they're hitting the balls a lot faster. But it's also a safety concern. And I know this because I've actually hurt myself on a tennis court. Every time you have a line and it's damp, you're causing a potential safety issue, because if you're running, because these are running sports, all of them, all the racket sports, if you're running and you have 1 foot on the line and 1 foot somewhere else, it could be a safety issue. So it's been mentioned that we have a Parks Master Plan, and we also have the feasibility studies that may give us some better ideas where we could put these dedicated pickleball courts. But we also have the possibility, and I think I mentioned this earlier in the meeting, there's a joint use agreement that the City Recreation Department has with the school district.
Madam Chair, a point of order. We are no longer on the topic of this agenda item.
Okay,
Our agenda item is specifically on
to discuss
discuss
ways that
what-
we can come together.
that we can discuss this topic with the community. So
Okay.
I appreciate everything the vice chair has shared, and that would be appropriate in those meetings, or if we decide to do something else, but we should stay on topic.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Mohammed, so you were starting to mention the school district, and is there a way that you can reference the school district in relation to potential meetings to integrate?
Well, yes, I
that part
would
of the
hope
community?
that in addition to the subject matter experts that would be invited to the community meetings, we would also invite representatives from the school district, because at the last joint meeting between the city council and the school district, there was a specific reference made to the tennis courts. Why that is relevant is if those can be opened up more for public use, then that increases the volume of tennis courts you have in the city, and then it becomes much easier to then begin to discuss areas where you might have pickleball, paddleball in different areas.
Space.
There might also be other joint use agreements, potentially with Western Lake College. And the final thing that I want to reference to the community, and I thought this was wonderful at the time, and maybe we need to recreate this. Anybody that's been around in Culver City for a while knows that we didn't always have a dog park. We had a community group that wanted to have a dog park, but they weren't talking about taking up anybody else's space, but they wanted to have a dog park. They got together, they fundraised, they got together with the city. The city finally determined that the Public Works Department could move their spare light poles somewhere else. Fast forward to where we are today, there's been the creation of a dog park. That's a model that could potentially be used that might help resolve the situation.
Okay, thank you. That was back on track. I see it as on track, but yes, Commissioner Peters.
To sort of come to some sort of resolution, because I know we could talk pickleball all night long. My thought is that we've had a lot of good suggestions about different ways to get community input. But it seems like there are costs and benefits to all these different ways. So I think we could create a ad hoc subcommittee to plan a public event, a public discussion event on pickleball. And they could work with staff to figure out what is the best way to do this and think about like what the rules of the meeting would be. So we don't get to this, somebody dominates the conversation. Because I have been into some community events where, somebody's very loud and they're much bigger than me, and then you suddenly don't want to talk. But also, so it's not necessarily just people here in this room getting their 3 minutes and like yelling at each other, because that's not helpful either. So perhaps we could create a subcommittee to think about this and to then help staff actually plan the meeting, or is it a meeting plus a survey or something like that, and figure out what is the best way to do this.
Okay, so that would be the ad hoc subcommittee portion of it
Yes.
to,
To create a plan for soliciting public feedback regarding racket sports.
So if I heard it right, it sounds like you want to create an ad hoc subcommittee to do this agenda item,
Yes, you do. Yes,
kind of.
kind of.
yes. Did anybody else want to add anything on that particular, this particular numbers 1 and 2-ish at all before I kind of summarize that? And then, because I think, so from my perspective, I think there have been really excellent ideas expressed in terms of the stakeholders. We have a lot of stakeholders in this particular activity. We have the neighbors of the community. We have the players for all the different sports. We have the school district that has space potentially available, and we have a joint use agreement with them for various things. We also have other stakeholders who might really be interested in being looped in, such as West LA College. We have experts who can also help provide perspective. So I think the task is to create this meeting, and that makes sense that a subcommittee, an ad hoc subcommittee could meet with staff and do that creation of, and put the pieces together to make that happen. I have heard very clearly that staff is stretched thin for the summertime. My concern is that there are some very specific issues that continue to be served way over the net and out of the lines, and that really somehow need to be addressed sooner than later. And I was very struck by the sounds that you were enduring for all of those hours all day long. And I'm concerned about hours. I'm concerned about all of the things that have been brought forward for many, many months. I don't, aside from having us go ahead and move forward, and we can get some motion and second on this subcommittee opportunity here.
Can I make a point of clarity about the ad hoc subcommittee?
Yes.
So the ad hoc subcommittee is not a quorum for obvious reasons. So they wouldn't be able to plan an event and hold it without bringing the concept back to the commission and having everyone discuss it and agree to it. So you're not.
That makes sense.
So by having an ad hoc subcommittee help plan the community meeting, as you all are talking, you're adding time to when that community meeting could actually take place, because it would still have to come back to the full body to say, hey, this is the plan. Is everyone on board with it? Whereas you could call a special meeting and we would have it within 24 hours. So it's something to keep in mind. A special meeting you can have, we just have to give the public 24-hour notice. I mean, we would prefer more than that. We don't want to stick to 24 hours notice, but if this is an issue you all believe in, I mean, that's a horrible thing for me to say because you all do believe in it, but if you feel like it needs more urgency, a special meeting is a much quicker road than forming an ad hoc subcommittee tonight and having them meet with staff and come up with a plan and then come back here and have you all agree to the plan, and then the plan will be put into motion and then the meeting can be held.
So
Just something to think about.
So a special meeting could be created quickly so that we can address these significant issues immediately and potentially resolve them?
Potentially, depending on the recommendation you make to staff in the meeting.
Yeah, I guess you
I
could,
mean, it really depends on what comes up in the meeting on how.
right, that's what I was going to say, yeah. You could certainly provide your recommendations as an advisory committee to what you think we should do. That would be something you could do.
Thoughts on deciding on a couple of these items, a couple of these things? Yes.
So Yeah, so a special meeting, yeah, we would make the special meeting specific to talk pickleball. And that would be the appropriate venue for public comment on pickleball, members of this body to discuss all the details of pickleball, and then at the end of that meeting, come up with recommendations that we could give to the department to implement or seek further information on, or whatever it is we decide we come up with at the end of the day on that one. So that would be kind of one of the benefits of a special meeting that we would do. Again, echoing what Adam was saying, we definitely do not want to do this with 24-hour notice. This would need to be something we would try to blast everywhere to get as many people out as possible, to get really good feedback. And we'd probably have hopefully we'd have a large public comment period available for that. So that is a possibility. Again, right, it really is just kind of one-way traffic from the public to us, and then we could use that information to decide what we wanted to go forward. Obviously, we can do our own kind of research ahead of time of that meeting and have our own, opinions on the topic as well. So I agree that would be the fastest way to do it. Not sure if it's the best, but it is certainly an expedient method that we can use.
Through the chair.
Yes.
It's been mentioned twice, just pickleball, once by Commissioner Peters, who then changed it to racket sports, and now Commissioner Mohammed has just spoken as pickleball, and I don't know if he also meant to say racquetball, all racket sports, or just pickleball, but I think, not trying to confuse the issue, but when we were doing outreach before, when we were doing the survey, we surveyed people on tennis courts and paddle courts. So I think if we're just making it a narrow conversation about pickleball and not including all racket sports, we're going to be missing a lot.
So the way I understand a special meeting that is targeted at pickleball is to address specifically, almost exclusively, because that is where we're getting the majority of our issues. It is the noise, it is the disrespect, it is the violation of city rules, it is jumping over fences, it is blasting music, it is fights on those courts, it is, we haven't heard that from the Fox Hills paddle tennis courts. We haven't heard that from other areas. And if, the way I see it, this is the primary target for a very specific topic, because something has to be done there. That's where, am I missing something by saying that that is almost exclusively where the primary pickleball problems lie?
I would say that is where we get the complaints from, and that's where it's been most vocal. Even before we even allowed pickleball on those courts, that was where we had most of the conversation. So yes, however, the fact is right, there's a number of people advocating for moving pickleball away from that. So I think we do need to consider the wider paddle sport spaces we have available when having that discussion, in order to kind of get a more holistic view of what options are available.
Well, I don't think we could restrict where a conversation might go from that, but I also am feeling like a special meeting that reflects the urgency of the matter is what would be in order. Now, I'd like to ask staff, have you received complaints and issues from any other paddle tennis courts in the city that have been are now being used by pickleball players?
Okay, so Danny's Cohen's is letting me know that she has received complaints in the past from SK and Fox Hills, not Culver West. Yeah. None of them have come to me since I've been here, but that just means she's been getting them. She's been dealing with them. They just haven't risen to my level.
And so those are related to pickleball and paddle tennis, people saying, no, this is our court, and no, this is our court, or,
know all about sound and the sound that pickleball makes.
and if I may just ask another question, and the sound issue being specific to the residents that are around the park?
Correct. And Fox Hills surprised me. I've received multiple calls. They said it like reverberates, I guess, into the complex there. So I thought we would get more from Culver West. We haven't. I get them from SK and Fox Hills.
And the budget item that has identified funds for soundproofing, which courts was that intended for, or what planning is going on with regard to that?
Nothing specific is set in stone. It's just generic for soundproofing. Obviously, I was looking at doing the Alinda courts first because that seems to be the biggest issue. And I did bring like a sample of one of the products I'm looking at. If you guys want to check it out later on, I can hand it over to you. This vendor's actually just installed some in Newport Beach at a pickleball court there. That's right up against someone's home. So they gave me the address. I was going to go check it out and see how the product works. But there is there's more than enough funding to do Alinda and other courts if it works. I was going to try Alinda first. But I may wait and see if we have a special meeting and wait and see what comes out of that meeting before I spend the money. We're still in the process of getting bids right now.
Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes, Commissioner,
I
Vice
think,
Chair Alexander.
I just want to clarify because I'm hearing you could have a special meeting and it sounded like you were looking to have a narrow focus to it. So it wasn't necessarily going to be talking about joint use of courts, but to resolve the issues that were occurring with the Alinda courts. So that's one model. Or you could have a special meeting that would be more broad. The broader one was the one that I was referring to with respect to all racket sports. But if it's going to be more narrow focused, then that could just be the pickle paddle.
Is there anything that precludes us as a commission this evening from establishing or deciding on a special meeting and identifying a subcommittee that could work with staff on a bigger community meeting to address the broader angle of the paddle court or court sports?
Sorry. So you would be wanting a motion that's to set a special meeting to talk specifically about the Alinda courts? I'm guessing, and
Well, I'd wanna get-
then also create an ad hoc committee to discuss coming back later with ideas for a more broader general meeting to discuss all courts, sport courts or paddle courts
Yes, they are.
or racket courts.
Yes, they are identified sort of separately in the item itself, so if that would be something we might want to consider.
And I mean, that's certainly your prerogative as the.
Okay, so where does everybody stand with a special meeting that is targeted to the Alinda courts specifically, or something close to that?
I would say that I support this because I live in an area where I know what it's like to actually I live over by the high school, so I deal with traffic all the time, which you guys do as well on Alenda. And so I think it's important that we do what we can to mitigate what they're having to deal with. And so, yeah, I'm all for doing a special meeting if that's what we need to do to resolve this.
Okay, other thoughts on this piece, just this piece alone for right now? A special meeting that would potentially be targeted, or ... Any other thoughts from the commissioners?
Yes, if we had this special meeting, could we also include an agenda? Because I'm thinking like we could get a lot of good ideas out of that. But would we want some sort of, at that point, some sort of ad hoc subcommittee to help run forward with those ideas or something like that? Would that need to be on the agenda for that special meeting, probably? Like, if desired, appoint 2 new commission members to the newly formed ad hoc subcommittee or something, to add that, because I could imagine we could get lots of good ideas, but then we might not be able to say, just go do this.
So you're saying that to hold off on potentially doing an ad hoc subcommittee, putting that together until we actually have that meeting, that
Yes.
special meeting, and have enough breadth and depth to understand what that subcommittee could be doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. It's interesting. Commissioner Mohammed.
Sorry, I'm thinking very hard about this.
It's hard. It is hard.
So I guess in terms of the special meeting, the part that I'm trying to figure out is what would the agenda item be at that special meeting? Yes, we've narrowed it down to specifically Linda Courts, specifically discussing pickleball and paddle tennis in that location. And I'm trying to think of how we would create that agenda item to get to what is the solution we're trying to get to. I think in terms of that ad hoc subcommittee, I think we could just form it here. Whatever the feedback we get in that special meeting can easily be, there's nothing stopping the ad hoc subcommittee from using that information in whatever they're going to end up doing. So, I mean, so in that respect, I'm like, we could do the ad hoc subcommittee today. I think that's fine. But I'm trying to capture what I think the agenda item would be for that special meeting. And maybe we don't need to decide that now. I don't know if we need to decide that now or not. But, I mean, we know the venue that we're talking about. The real question is it to elicit feedback from I think it's really to elicit feedback from the community of recommendations of what should be done to mitigate the problems we're currently experiencing at the Alenda courts, and then provide some recommendations to the department on how to deal with that. I think that's it.
I think that's what I was getting ready to say, is that you'd basically be receiving input from the community and providing, potentially, if desired, providing, direction or not direction, but recommendations to the department.
Remember, we can't really provide direction.
Right, that's what I was
Not
like,
within our
provide
charter.
recommendations.
Suggested direction.
Correct, yeah.
I just think, also as we write the agenda item, we want to make sure it's clear that we do actually, in an ideal world, there'd be a way to continue playing pickleball on these courts without driving the neighbors insane. And so I think we want to make sure that the language is such that we're not sounding like we're anti-pickleball in general, just that we need to deal with the issues in this one spot, and figure out a way so that the neighbors can live with the courts in a way that is hopefully in some sort of harmony.
And so I think that there's enough, does staff have enough language to create an agenda item if we were to go ahead and identify a special meeting, make a motion for a special meeting that will address and potentially help to develop mitigating measures for the Allenda courts?
So something that, we don't have to do a motion to hold a special meeting, I just need a consensus.
I'm sorry, you just need,
Consensus, 3 nodding heads to have the meeting. But I would also say, I think we have enough information, but in planning the special meeting, we could work with the chair to make sure it's
okay,
going the direction you want the meeting to go.
okay. I mean, we know what the problems are. We're trying to find solutions at this point. So in my mind, a special meeting, as Chair, as Commissioner Mohammed has said, and the other commissioners, is we need to get to some solutions. And we would like to solicit potential solutions from the public as well, not just hear, we know what the issues are. And thankfully, we have people who are willing to come forward and say what these ongoing problems are so that we can help to address it. So,
Something I would also add is, yes, I mean, if we give enough notice and get the word out, you're going to have people come. I don't think anyone in this room is concerned about that. But when talking about what you want out of this agenda item, I would also ask you to think about, what do you want from staff? So if you're asking for a big research of multiple cities and how they have fixed it in order to get to these solutions, because I hear you saying that you want solutions, but we don't really know where those solutions are coming from. So that also can help direct how an agenda item is formed when you think, okay, what do we need staff to bring to this meeting? And it also will help staff be able to accurately tell you, hey, if you want to have the meeting next week, we're not going to be able to reach these goals, but if you want to have it in a month, we could, depending on what's going on in the department. So, adding into this, if you're thinking a special meeting, what would you want us to bring what would you want staff to bring to help mitigate the conversation?
okay, so just to move this along, do my commissioners agree that I can work with staff on putting together the details of a special meeting to be put through the process based on what we've just discussed?
Just for clarity, just specifically the Allenda courts.
Yes. So,
yes, I will caution you that you don't have all the issues on that court yet. There will be more that will show up at that meeting. So,
okay.
That's the purpose.
So, yeah, so.
That's good, because then we'll have all the information we
We'll
need, I
probably
guess.
still have some of the information. I don't think we'll have all the information even at that point, but yeah, there's going to be different perspectives, so we need to be prepared for that.
Yes, thank you.
I mean, that's why I think, we maybe need less from staff and think of it more as a listening session for the public. And maybe we can come up with recommendations, but maybe we come up with a set of things to go back and look at. Rather than spending a lot of, because I don't want to spend a lot of staff time issuing or like researching problems that actually turn out not to be that big of a problem. When there might be new problems that come up when we talk to people. So thinking of it more of just letting everybody come out and, maybe they're even, if you have both sides in the room, maybe there's, some amount of the pickleball. I'm probably being overly optimistic. Chair Mohammed just faced it here. Of maybe, some amount of,
I hope.
understanding of, from the bad actors of, like what, or the, unfeeling actors, or unthinking actors might feel about, their behavior, but maybe not.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Any other comments?
My only comment would be that there's no question that we need to do something as far as what's going on with the Alenda, but it also sounds like that there have been complaints from Fox Hills as well. And so that's something that perhaps we need to agendize at a later meeting, not necessarily a special meeting, but a later meeting so that we can actually address that issue. Perhaps if we're able to come up with a solution for Alenda, we can extend that solution and see if that will work as well for Fox Hills and any other place that we end up putting a pickleball court. That would be something to be thinking about so that we don't have the same thing happening again.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so, Commissioner Mohammed is shaking his head again.
No, I'm just thinking, I'm trying to think this out. I think, right, I'm reconsidering that ad hoc subcommittee at this
Point,
time.
yeah.
If we're really gonna use this special meeting as a, hey, give us all your feedback, we want to hear everything under the sun that you got to share within your 3 minutes, then, yeah, at that point, it probably would be better because we'd have more of an opportunity to kind of do some of the digging we may need to do to have a better idea of how to go forward.
I tend to agree. I think that suggestion is probably best as well. So for this particular item, we just need consensus to work with staff to develop a special meeting that will target the issues at Alenda courts with the knowledge that information that we receive from the public could potentially be extrapolated elsewhere down the road.
Yeah, and I would recommend we do it at Veterans since that's the closest physical, meeting space we have.
So 2 thoughts. You can schedule a special meeting tonight if you wanted to. Instead of working with staff, we can, if you all have your calendars, we can talk about that. I will always recommend having meetings here because this allows for the meeting to air on the cable network. It allows the meeting to be, it just goes out on more platforms. If we hold it at Vets, then we only have WebEx available. And if we're looking at dates, I have spoken to the city clerk. The city council meeting that would normally fall on July 28th is not scheduled. They only have 1 meeting in July. So July 28th, Chambers is available. If you didn't want to do it that quickly, she told me that the last week of the month is generally an easy slot for us to fill, to get into Chambers if you all wanted to have it at Chambers. So that's looking at the last week of August or that the 29th, 30th of September. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you did want to hold it at Vets, then, we're a lot more open. We can kind of schedule that whenever, and I can find space to make that work. We could either do it in the auditorium or we could do it in the rotunda room. I would lean towards the rotunda room because it's just a little easier to crowd control in there.
There's something wrong.
Yeah, the 20th is a Sunday. I'm assuming you meant the 29th.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I meant the 29th.
Okay.
I quickly found this calendar and didn't look at it that closely. So yeah, the 29th.
Okay, yes, thank you.
The 29th of,
The
July.
29th of July.
oh, okay.
Okay,
I am available.
I am available.
I'm out of town.
Out of town.
I am here July 29, but I am not available the end of August.
We could also, the 22nd, Chambers is free also, of July. So if you want to do the 22nd, that's also an option.
Commissioner Peters, are you
I'm-
here on
I'm
the
here,
22nd? Or is everyone else here on the 22nd?
Yeah, I will
July
be,
22nd, yes.
July 22nd?
I'll be back in
Yeah.
state by then, yeah.
Okay. July 22nd then that gives staff enough time to put something together and post it It's a special meeting, so.
It's a special meeting, and I can confirm tomorrow with city clerk and confirm with everyone that Chambers is available.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you very, very much. I know it's a lot of conversation, but we have to do it. Because, yes, so, okay. So that sort of covers number 1 and number 2, the consideration of forming an ad hoc subcommittee. The recommendation by 2 of our commissioners has been that we delay that. Is that something that we would want to put on the agenda for that special meeting? Is that something we could potentially put on that meeting, just in case?
Yes, we can put in a special meeting for,
We have nodding heads on that one? Okay. Yeah, I think we'll have a lot more material to base that decision on. And number 4 is associated with the ad hoc subcommittee. So is there anything else we need to do with this item specifically? It doesn't require any other motions or?
no, as of right now, no motions are required.
Okay. Great, thank you very, very much. And now we will go to item A3, which deals with adoption of motions to appoint and reappoint Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission members as liaisons to various outside associations and city committees. And we have a number of them that are up for review. And also to appoint and reappoint members to serve on PRCS Commission ad hoc subcommittees, and 3, provide updates, if any. So,
I would like to give a quick staff report on what to think about when we're looking at these associations and ad hoc subcommittees.
okay,
Something that the city clerk has mentioned to me is that while you're weighing who to appoint and whether to keep or dissolve, to keep in mind what the difference between when something's brought to the entire commission versus you all getting something secondhand. Versus you getting something secondhand from someone who attended a meeting and came to tell you about it. So the example, let me scroll down to, for the example, you all have a representative going to the DAC, but staff could provide everyone here minutes from every meeting, and then all of you would be getting the same information at the same time. So when you're looking at these things, weighing, is it better to send a representative and get an update, or is it better to have minutes provided you, or is there a better way to have information given to all of you at the same time? Another example that the city clerk wanted me to mention was the Culver City Arts Foundation. You all have a representative going to their meetings. Is that the best way to get the information, or would it be better for you to request they bring a rep to you and allow an update given to all 5 of you? So it's something to think about as we talk about, as we give updates and as you all talk about who you'd like to appoint.
is that kind of suggestion and review or comment being presented to all of the commissions that have the same kind of long list of liaisons and?
You all have a long list. No one else really does.
Oh. Well, we have a lot going on here. This commission.
And you know, in defense for all of you, PRCS has a wide range that we oversee. So, I mean, there is a lot going on in this department, whereas like cultural affairs is very specific.
Okay,
So, I mean, again, it's just kind of the nature of the commission. I don't want you all to think that you shouldn't have these, but the city clerk is always going to say, let's have the information given to you in this room so that the public is fully aware of what's being said. And all of you are getting the exact same information at the exact same time. That's what she is going to recommend and want. So it's just something to always keep in mind. It's kind of the same thing when I say, when you all talk about ad hoc subcommittees, and I'm like, well, what's the goal and what's the timeline? It's kind of like, these are just like things to always keep in mind when you're thinking, do we need to send a rep to like the DAC, or to the Arts Foundation, or would it be better to have that come to all of you at the same time?
So would that then be, if we did have a representative from one or a number of these groups, would that be part of the standing item? Is their standing item would be to come and give a quick report?
Well, we could either make it a standing item, or like we can work with the Arts Foundation to, when they want to give an update to you specific to parks, we can arrange it to where they're on the agenda.
Okay.
The, for the DAC, I think the city clerk's, why it like kind of stands out to her is that it is a, you know, anyone can attend WebEx. There is minutes. We could send all of you the WebEx video to watch whenever you are available to watch it. Like, there are just so many means to get the exact information that sending someone to a meeting like that and then having them come talk about it, she would prefer you all get the information in the same way and not have it translated, kind of.
Okay. All
But it's
right.
something to think about.
Yeah,
and-
thank you.
You mentioned the DAC, what about the Senior Citizens Board?
So that would fall more in line with Arts Foundation. Like, if you all wanted to, you could request one of them to give you an update, come to you and give all 5 of you an update, instead of sending one person to tell you what they talked about.
That
Now,
one-
I also would say if you, if the 5 of you are like, no, we really actually prefer to send a representative, then you can still send a representative. This isn't a, it's just a different way of thinking about things and looking at how information is being given to the commission.
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
So I would say this is not this position is a liaison to these organizations. So these would be the belly buttons that these organizations would reach out to connect with us. So, and that's kind of how I look at it. Yes, we attend the meetings and we get take the notes and we give feedback, but it's also kind of that bridge between us and those other organizations. Now, if we don't feel like we're getting a lot out of some of them, then yeah, I think that makes sense. We can always get minutes. They're publicly available even. Crazy. But yeah, I mean, if we think that, like, for instance, I kind of think about Culver City Arts Foundation. They have been pushing so hard to play an active role in the parks plan. Like, it might be useful to continue to have a liaison that they could share their, you know, what their agenda items are, what they really would like for to be pushed, you know, in our forum. That may be something, but I think what the vice chair brought up about, yeah, I think we really do need somebody at the seniors, right? Because they are with us, they fall under our umbrella. So yeah, I
Yes.
think we need to have that. Like, I don't think we're backing off on that.
It would be very hard for somebody to be coming to report to us on that one as
Yeah.
well. And I don't think that we would expect a report from city staff on every single thing.
And I, through the chair, I do recall when I first took my seat here, and I was reminded that, you know, a lot of people in the community don't necessarily know what the community services part is, and that's a big part of it. And I have learned a lot by being the liaison to that committee.
So I would, just in response to Commissioner Mohammed's statement that the liaison is a connection for them to get to you, it raises questions on what this agenda item is for all of you, because it has turned into you all reporting back and giving updates. And if it's more you trying to connect them to everyone, then it might not be relevant to have a standing updates from all of these. Something to think about.
Okay. Well, should we just tackle one at a time and see where we get? Because they're very unique.
Yeah, you can, yeah, I would agree
Okay.
with going about that way.
So let's just go ahead and start at the top here and discuss each one and what type of either representation we want to have, or if we want to have some other kind of connection in terms of information sharing. So, okay, the Capper Sibum, California Association of Parks and Recreation Commissioners and Board Members. Our Commissioner Ricards has previously been the primary, and Commissioner Peters has been the alternate. Do you feel comfortable stepping into the primary role for that if this is going to be continued as a liaison position for us?
Sure. I will say that having gone to their website fairly frequently to try and figure out what is going on, it does not seem like this is a particularly active organization. And so, but I think it's still worth having somebody go and check out what's going on there. And it, of course, is something where we're not going to get a report from them, I don't think.
No.
So, I'm happy to be the delegate.
Yeah, my understanding of that information is almost exclusively going on their website and finding out when their trainings are, and if it's something that we can participate and attend as members. Our city is a member of this organization, and our commission specifically. So I think that makes sense. I don't think this one is supercharged with any major tasks or issues. The question is, does it require to have an alternate? Is it required to have an alternate? Or just helpful as backup?
Just more helpful. It's not mandatory.
I mean, if they don't have regular meetings, I think the whole idea of having an alternate is if the regular person can't be there, then you try to see if the alternate can step in, right?
Yeah.
I would also recommend defining, so number 2 under description, support park and recreation issues and legislation, CPRS and NRPA affiliated. So if this commission would like to send someone to one of these conferences, the conferences do have sections devoted to commissioners. So in the past, this hasn't been a top priority of the commissioners to go to any of these. Well, I'm not really sure. I'm just saying within the last year I've been in this position, it wasn't a top priority. So that's another thing that the delegate and the alternate could do is they could, if you all wanted to send them anywhere. Because I think this one really does fall into attending trainings as seen fit by the commission.
Okay. Well, I think being able to attend that kind of conference or trainings would be really helpful. I mean, clearly, the the activities that are being handled by this department are very, very dynamic, and PRCS has just got an amazing range of things that they're responsible for, and I think that it would be helpful for our commission to be, have their finger on the pulse of what's happening to assist staff in various ways, if we can, and have a better understanding of these issues. So, with that, would anyone
I'd step up.
consider an alternate?
I'd be the alternate. I'm already on their mailing list anyway, so.
Oh, okay. Okay, so Commissioner Peters would be the delegate and Commissioner Mohammed as the alternate. Shall we go one by one with motion and second and so forth?
You can do one motion at the end to approve.
One at the
all.
end? Okay, all right.
More efficient.
Great. Any other comments on that at this point? Okay. The Senior Citizens Association Board, I can step away. We have plenty of new people here. Crystal, our Commissioner Alexander, what is your perspective on this one?
I think they would miss us if we didn't, to be quite frank. And I don't know that we would get them here at a meeting. It's more to just get a flavor for sort of the dynamism of the senior community and how well we do with that particular part of what, you know, the department offers to the community there, and seeing, you know, sort of ideas about where we're going forward with that. I know they're going to redo their MOU. I'm sort of going through my report now, but I'll try to make it brief. They're going to redo their MOU with the city. And then there's always the discussion about, you know, well, today's seniors are different than the seniors from before, and how all that's going to work into their programming. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay, and I also, after having been the delegate in the prior year, I think it's important to have some consistency, some continuity. So I would recommend that Commissioner Alexander stay as the primary. And by the way, for other commissioners, new commissioners, as an alternate, it doesn't mean that you can't attend that meeting as well, right? I mean, you could.
Anybody can attend their
Anybody can
meetings.
attend,
It's
well,
not-
as long as we don't have the three of you there. But
sit in the corners of the room.
But it just, yeah, but if she would be unavailable, then whoever the alternate is. could be-
Actually, I am unavailable at the one for July.
Okay.
Because I'll be in Cleveland. So whoever if I was to continue as a delegate, I would need the alternate to try to see if they could attend that one.
Okay, so are any other commissioners interested in being the alternate?
Understanding that those meetings are during the day.
Yes, they are.
Yes,
Thank
they
you.
are.
They're the second Tuesday
Second Monday.
Second Monday
Monday.
at 1 PM.
at 1 PM. Is anyone available to do that at that time?
Provided that I don't have because of the type of job that I have, sometimes I get contracts at the last minute. And so provided that I don't have a last minute contract, I could probably, I mean, it's not that far from my house, so.
Okay, all right. Others good with that?
Yeah, so July 8th, can you check your calendar because I'm in Cleveland?
If I may, Chair, Vice Chair,
yes.
the July 8th meeting has been canceled due to a lack of quorum for next Monday, so
Thank you.
You're
That
welcome.
solved that.
Voila. Okay, so that would be the next team would be Commissioner Alexander, or I'm sorry, Vice Chair Alexander as delegate, and Commissioner Bond as the alternate. Okay. Here we are on Culver City Arts Foundation. The current delegate is open because that was previously held by Commissioner Ricards, and I'm the alternate. I did attend this past month in his stead, and I'm happy to continue to be involved in this, except that it does tend to have some conflicts with other things that I'm responsible for. So, and now we also need to discuss what level of interface we're going to have. I find it important to be in attendance at their meetings because there's an opportunity to ask questions about things that do pertain to PRCS very specifically. And there's a Fiesta component. There's, let me just quickly, I'm not going to give my report, but I'm just going to mention the things that are very specific. Use of city space for various meetups and things that are happening in the arts community. As I said, the Fiesta, the Olympics, kind of emerge of ideas about what arts-related content could potentially be. And since we have an Olympics subcommittee here, that's something. And then summer concert series, they do those on city property as well. So I do think it's important to continue to have somebody who could potentially go, or at least maybe that's one where we could have somebody come and report to us and we can ask questions in that format. Any thoughts? Yes.
I guess I have a question since you've been going. So what level of participation are you able to have in those meetings? Because I know they're a foundation, so they don't fall under the same rules that we fall under in terms of public comment and participation. So has it been useful, other than getting reports on what's happening? Are you able to do more things?
Well, you're right, they're a foundation, they're not specifically an entity of the city, so we don't have, it's not, it's different. I would say that any questions or comments I have would be equally as easy to provide in a forum like this, if we were to have a representative come. The thing is that the representative that they would send is likely a city staff member who is also on that foundation, and that concerns me, that she would be required to come to each of our commission meetings. That would be a challenge. Or they also have very thorough notes and minutes that we could also review. And potentially, if something came up, we could actually say, we have some questions or comments about those, and have someone come specifically to address those after the fact.
Okay, so it sounds like you're not getting anything directly from actually attending the meetings.
It is.
That wouldn't be already in the notes of the.
What I'm saying is that any engagement about it could be done without me actually being at the meeting. I mean, I could have that option of going, or the delegate could have the option, but I think that, am I going around in circles?
I just want to remind you, so.
I'm sorry.
One reason why the Culver City Arts Foundation delegate was selected was because they brought Christy Kantz to, I believe her last name's Kantz, to introduce herself to the commission. She is the artist laureate right now, and her specialty is actually art in public places, and so she wanted to initiate art projects in parks. And part of what is on display was stuff that she did. She arranged with PRCS to go to parks and meet people and have them do some of the artwork that you see outside of City Hall right now. And that led to a larger discussion about how can Culver City Arts Foundation have more involvement with the parks. With that being said, so they requested a delegate go to them. You could request, instead of sending a delegate to them, that anytime they have a concern or a question or a presentation about what they would like to do in parks, that they bring a delegate here. So that you're not going to a meeting where they're talking about things like, I've been to some of their meetings, and they will have a meeting that just concerns their grant money and what artists they're going to select, and that doesn't serve any purpose for this commission. So instead of going to meetings that have nothing to do with parks, requesting that they come to you anytime something comes up that's connected to parks, and they can reach out to me to try to agendize the item or do whatever needs to happen so that it can appear on the agenda. That might be a better way to serve this organization.
Okay, that makes sense to me, too. I was sort of going partially that direction, but you said it much more eloquently than I could. Any other thoughts on that, comments?
I defer to your experience with this group. I don't.
I don't have that much, but I think that is a good resolution to making sure that we still are addressing the original issue, the original nature of the collaboration or the liaison position. So, any other comments? No.
So I think we're saying we're going to
good.
dissolve this then. Yeah?
So is that the proper action? That would be the proper action?
I can just dissolve it. Look, it's gone.
With the understanding we're not dissolving our interest in what's going on with the foundation. We are just streamlining our efforts to address the things that are more specifically associated with PRCS Commission and the Arts Foundation.
Yes. And I will update Alicia Ide, who is your staff contact for that. that is the request from the commission.
Okay. Thank you. We want our contact to be relevant and, timely and responsive. We don't want to be just, okay. Thank you. Okay, Disability Advisory Committee. Commissioner Peters, have you had any contact with them before as the alternate?
Yeah, so I attended via WebEx the last meeting. Yeah, I mean, I think this is one where perhaps it makes sense to get a presentation from them to all of us. So I'm thinking about so some of their activities, like their awards and things like that, aren't really relevant to us. But, when they're talking about the Disability Awareness Month activities, like they were this last one, especially their Disabilities Carnival, which is very deeply tied to parks, or they're talking about, they've also formed an Olympic subcommittee, but that I think would get rolled into our Olympic subcommittee and what goes on with that. But also, they're talking about, they had a lot of discussion, and this is maybe just more something to think about, where they're going to get a presentation from Olin, and then there was confusion about difference between the Parks Master Plan and the feasibility study and who was what, and why there was both. So I think this could be something, especially since Francisca's at both meetings frequently. I can barely see you from here, I'm too short. Sorry. That, we could either just get a report from staff, or if they want to come talk to us, we could have somebody from them come to us occasionally. Would be my thought.
Yeah, I think staff could provide updates as needed.
Okay, sounds like we want to get rid of this one, too.
I just do want to make sure that it's clear that this is very much an important part of PRCS's activity, operations, and the commission's interest. So again, it's a matter of,
Sure, and I mean, it's in our department, and we staff it. So, I mean, they're tied to us directly, and we work with them closely. So, I mean, Francisca could provide updates as part of her report out.
I mean, I think especially since so much of what they're doing directly impacts the parks, and maybe it's better for Francisca to report to all of us rather than, like you said, getting it secondhand, and getting my impressions of the meeting to get, I mean, whatever's going to happen, unless we're all going to the meeting, we're going to get the impressions of somebody, but, and it's on WebEx, so you can always go.
And we can provide the minutes.
Right.
We can email you the minutes. You could look at it and be like, oh, so what? And you could reach out, I have questions about this specific item, what went on here. Or you could look at the minutes and then maybe go back and watch the video and see what happened, so.
okay. All right, thank you.
So when I send out the agenda, I try to also include the city living, if there's a new city living, and I try to include the senior newsletter. I mean, if the commission would like, I can also include minutes to the committee meetings PRCS oversees.
I think that would be great. We can really see what's going on. Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Peters, for that perspective as well. I think that's very helpful. All right, so we would dissolve our responsibility for specific delegates for that one. And then we have the Summer Olympics Preparation Ad Hoc Subcommittee, which is not going anywhere.
Well, they did have this.
In many ways.
No, I mean,
many
it's not
ways.
going anywhere, meaning we are keeping that here.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
That definitely.
So we have the two appointees of Vice Chair Alexander and Commissioner Mohammed. Are you both still interested in continuing with that? You're fine
Yes.
with that continuity? And, okay. Any other comments anywhere? Okay. All right. And is this the time when we ask if there are any other ad hoc subcommittees aside from the one we've already discussed in the previous item that might need to be developed or created? Or should we go ahead and take this slate first, Adam?
Let's take the slate and do a motion to approve as amended delegates and alternates. And then if you wanted to create an ad hoc subcommittee, we have to walk a fine line on if it turns into needing a discussion or not.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and do a motion first.
Okay, a motion of what, all that we just discussed over the last half hour. I'm asking for a motion in a second.
I move to approve the slate of appointees to the newly modified list of ad hoc associations, city committees, and ad hoc subcommittees.
I will second the motion.
Is this one that you're doing through your system, Adam?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, sorry about that. So I have a motion by Commissioner Mohammed, seconded by Vice Chair Alexander, to approve the delegates and alternates to the newly modified associations and subcommittee list. And you can start voting.
Mine's not coming up, so I will give you an aye.
Okay.
Neither is mine, but I will also say aye.
And Commissioner Bond?
Aye.
And that motion passes unanimously.
Okay. And I don't believe we are going to go through any updates. I think we've covered that all pretty well, unless somebody has anything they are dying to say or share. No? Updates, the private updates for any of those is the third one that we had, but we've already covered those. Okay, wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything. Okay, and now we are back here at A5, receipt and filing of the Parks, Recreation and Community Services Commission 2024 meeting calendar and the upcoming agenda items list with adjustments, if any.
Chair Leonard.
Yes.
I was wondering if we could add, so on Tuesday, October 1st, we already have a report from staff on programs, classes, events, topic, TBD listed there. I was wondering if we could add something at that point about how summer camps went, and then also about availability of space for summer camp. Just because I think that is a good time where we've given time for camps to end and sort of gone through that, but also plenty of time to start thinking about planning for summer camp for 2025.
Sorry, for clarity, are you saying October 1st or September 3rd?
October 1st, the regular meeting.
Thank you.
Because I see we already have the Olin presentation on the 3rd, so I don't want to be here all night.
Okay. Are there any other questions, comments, items?
I guess
from
this
any
would be the
commissioners.
time.
I just want for the record, so on October 1st, adding the presentation of summer camp and a discussion on community access for summer camp, I received 3 nodding heads. I saw Chair Leonard, Commissioner Mohammed, and Commissioner Peters.
Okay.
So I guess this would be the time to be requesting an agenda item. Is that the same?
Yes, so you make your pitch and then you try to get 3 nodding heads.
Okay.
Is that, I believe that's correct. Hold on, just wait until we have Adam ready. So hold that thought,
Sorry,
Commissioner.
continue.
Okay.
So
Commissioner Bond.
the first thing that I had discussed was potentially expanding the classes that we currently offer because, and that would require also considering looking at what other cities are offering and what we could do. To me, it seems like the classes that we offer have drastically shrank in the last, I don't know how many years, but so it would be how we could support the, I don't remember exactly how you termed it, help me, Commissioner.
It's okay, it's
Commissioner
okay.
Mohammed.
But this is more specific than that was. so-
Right, right.
May I help?
Yes, please.
Perhaps we could request a staff report on the state of classes that are offered and kind of an understanding of why the class offerings have changed over the years and what we could be doing, what the department is looking at in order to offer some newer and more interesting classes in the future.
Could that be included in that October 1st item, since the reports from staff on programs, classes, events?
I mean, we could also put it on September if that would be something interesting. There is a placeholder there with a TBD on it as well.
Yeah.
But it's going to boil down to what staff can actually support to do something
Oh, I
like
see.
that.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, actually, yes, I see. That's September 3rd.
So also, just so you know, historically, there, as of last, well, not historically, last year, what happened at this time of year was staff provided a report on Fiesta La Leona, because at that time, the committee was dissolved by city council, so a report was brought to the commission about how it went, and any changes or recommendations were made for that. So really, the reports from staff on programs, classes, events, we try to just give updates when things end on how they went and what feedback we got. But it's very open to, if you all specifically wanted to make one of those about programs, we can switch it to being about programs. If you do specifically want a Fiesta update after Fiesta, we can talk about timing and put that on an agenda also. So that report from staff, it's a very open-ended section that we can kind of, based on the programming we're offering, meet with the commission and decide what it is.
And just for a point of clarification, we're not talking about our programs, we're talking about our contract classes.
Yeah.
Correct. So you'd want like a status update, maybe even like we could even talk about how the program works. Like I don't know if everyone understands how it works, because these are either businesses or private individuals offering these classes. It's a partnership. So we could, give you, just so you understand how a contract class program actually works. We could talk about the process, how we get new instructors, so we could do all that. And then we could also give a history of it. We could talk about, the challenges, during COVID, pre-COVID, during COVID, and after COVID. So, we could provide an update just on our contract class program, which I think is what Commissioner Bond is referring to.
So I think I would agree with that. That's one head. But I'm wondering is August too soon to make that a specific item? Because we will be also talking about the budget and contract classes, not necessarily that contract classes would be part of that item, but a report on the contract, status and process, what you just outlined in August. Is that too soon for staff?
That might be a quick turnaround, just like I said, considering everything that we have going on right now.
Okay, so, but I do think it should be a specific item. I think it should be a specific item unless the September 3rd reports from staff on programs, classes, events be of the specific topic of what's been suggested. And then we need to definitely add the Fiesta report on October 1st. Well, first, do we have another nodding head for that specific item? Yes.
So I was just confirming with Adam right now. So the report about the Fiesta typically happens is the October.
October,
report.
that's fine.
The September one in the past, I guess, has been day camp, but because, that is like right when day camp ends. So we could give them more time. Maybe day camp could be November, and we could potentially use September for the contract class presentation.
Is there a reason we couldn't do it in October in addition? Because right now we have one topic.
Well, plus Fiesta.
Yeah, Fiesta being one topic.
We could, you mean do the day camp one in October? Yeah, we could do the
do
day
day
camp one in
camp.
October along with the Fiesta.
Yeah, I mean,
That's good. That's a good balance.
so then September, we could agendize the contract classes.
Specific topic of,
Yeah.
Or is that still too fast of a turnaround?
That gives us, I think that should be enough time.
Okay.
I don't know if this would be inappropriate, but time, just as far as how we could, because I think a lot of people are, other than, for instance, like our swim lessons, I think a lot of people aren't really aware of just the number of classes that are offered. And maybe we could also not just discuss the contract classes, but also discuss how we can get this information out there. At one point, we used to send out mailings to people. I know, and you're laughing, Commissioner Mohammed, but that was how I at one point discovered the dance classes. And I'm not saying, I know that that's an expense, I'm not saying necessarily do that quarterly like it used to be done, but I think that when you have new families moving in, which we do have, and then they're not aware of what we're offering, that the potential of maybe doing that once a year, so that there's that mailing and they see, oh,
so,
Parks and Rec actually does. I don't know if that's happening because I'm not seeing it.
okay, so this is now getting, I'm trying to take your lead, Commissioner Mohammed, and trying to make sure that our scope is where we're supposed to be, so.
Right.
So,
It's just discussing how we're going to do the programming and the marketing and everything to make sure
Right,
that
so-
the residents and people, the community are aware of what we actually offer.
so, yeah, so that gets now into some ideas about operational things that we don't have necessarily agendized, but staff knows how to build some of that into,
So we'll do the presentation,
process.
we'll talk about that, and then
Right.
it's on the agenda, and that'll open up the discussion.
And
Where you
then
can-
we
That'll
can
give the
dig
opportunity
deeper.
at the end, the presentation,
Okay,
what-
thank
do
you.
what questions and comments do you have?
Question on that, if we're talking about doing a somewhat deep dive into that, the city does have a public, I don't know if this is Dustin's title, Public Information Officer, if he's going to have, like, any ideas about how we might go about doing that.
I can talk to him and see if he wants to come that night.
Hey, we should get a presentation from him. We presented to him, he owes us.
are you wanting to agendize another item?
No,
of
that's
a
the same
presentation?
item.
Yeah,
It's just
okay.
we want some additional staff reports.
Also, I wanted to point out something. I know we've discussed it before, but our November meeting is on Election Day, and we were talking about moving it off that date.
Yes, we were actually supposed to discuss that in either this month or August, I think. We talked about that before, about when we were going to talk about it. Let's see.
As I recall, Adam was going to see what might be available, but we didn't know how far in advance he would be able to see what would be available in November.
So if you wanted to keep it here at
Yes.
Chambers, wait, when is, let me look up. The later half of the month is more available.
Like right around Thanksgiving, huh?
Probably on
Convenient.
Thanksgiving.
So, for obvious reasons, the 25th, the city council meeting is not meeting that night. But also the third week, the week of the 17th, specifically
18.
Thursday, yeah, sorry, well, that Sunday's the 17th, yeah, but the week of the 18th, that Thursday, I believe
21st.
Chambers is available then also. If you wanted to make it the week before Thanksgiving, I can, and as I can always confirm and come back to the commission, but that's the timeframe the city clerk has told me it should be available. If you all chose a date tonight and it's not available, we can always, I can give recommendations on where to relocate it.
I'm available on the 21st, right now.
I am as well.
As of this moment, I am.
I'm also available at that point.
Okay, the 21st of November, I am also available if you can just confirm for us, Adam. Okay, so,
And then your December meeting will be like 10 days after that.
so maybe we can do something interesting during our November meeting.
We'll have
Or we
time.
could cancel December's meeting.
Well, we
We'll
can
talk
make those
about that
decisions
next
later.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, if we don't have an agenda, we shouldn't be meeting, but yes.
And just a reminder that our September 3rd meeting will be at Culver West Alexander Park Rec Building. Is that going to be any challenge with the items that we've talked about putting on September 3rd? Oh, glasses.
I will just give a reminder that I will be absent on that meeting date.
Okay. Roland report. Okay, so I think we'll be fine.
Yes, we'll have a projector, so we'll be able to project it, and WebEx will be happening in that building also.
Okay, thank you. All right, are there any more items? Any more?
Well,
Uh-oh. No, you have one more
it
thing.
was the discussion about the plunge. I would like to know, I guess, get a report as to why it's still on strict registration, why it's still 55 minutes, and what can be done to open it up, because it really has become an accessibility to a lot of people in the community. So,
Okay, so it would be an item to discuss plunge operations, and as an item there could be a receipt of information from the community, comments from the community as an agendized item.
right.
Okay, so are there any other nodding heads right now?
I think, I had remembered asking before about I forget the name of the system that collects the data from the pool. And
ActiveNet.
thank you. ActiveNet, and how that relates to decision-making regarding hours of operation, lanes, and it all ties together, I'm sure, with the problems that staffing has with respect to lifeguards and all that, but yeah, I think it's important.
Okay, so I would also nod my head on this one, but I think we need to put it in a place that would be manageable, because I think that could also be a big item, to be receiving information and so forth. I mean, I don't know, what is staff's perspective on that?
I guess potentially it could, I don't know.
So one thing
people
I
wanted to
would
come out.
say about the AccuNet is that if we're going to be basing decisions on that, we need to make sure that staff is enforcing it. My understanding is that a lot of the kids coming in from the teams don't necessarily end up swiping their cards. And so that's not going to give us accurate data as to how many kids are actually in the pool any given day for when the teams are there. So, and kids will just walk through unless they're forced to stop to do it, because we all did that as kids, right?
So again, that gets kind of into some operational information that could be provided on an agendized
Right.
item of that nature. So based on the, I'm sorry, I can't see that very well. So based on the schedule that we have put together with the other items that have been identified,
I
what
can
is
read them
staff's
off if you would like.
say that again?
I can read off the schedule as it stands right now.
Could you please?
Yeah. So for the August 6th meeting, we have the report on the budget, the explanation of all the allocations, the letter you wrote, and any clarifying questions about how the budget was decided. On the September 3rd meeting, you have added the report on the contract classes in programming and marketing, and Olin will be present to do a preliminary presentation on the early draft of the parks plan.
Okay.
I also want to, just so you all are aware, it's not on here, but they will also be coming in January to give you a final look at the draft before it goes to City Council.
Okay, thank you.
And then October, there will be a report on Fiesta La Leona and a presentation on the summer camp and a discussion on the community access for enrollment of summer camp. And currently, your November 20th, your
21st.
21st meeting does not have anything on the agenda set.
Well, and it's also kind of a strange day. It's a different type of a day. Would it be item?
So,
Director?
do you want to speak first?
Oh.
Well, I was going to say that. So,
You both leaned in,
yeah, I
so I
know.
wasn't sure. who was-
I was just going to say that your November 21st meeting will not be a regular meeting, it's a special meeting. You vote every year on what your regular meeting schedule is. So the fact that it is a special meeting means we could just have it be about this specific item, and we won't be approving minutes. We can actually make this a special meeting officially and just do the one item.
Okay. Director, are you, do you, okay.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, okay, okay. So how does that sound to the nodding heads that we had? And then if we go forward with that,
Seems reasonable.
okay? All right, let's do that. Thank you very much. Okay, so, anything else? Are these things that are needing to be down here about the senior center solar panel and battery storage? Why is that still on the dates to be determined?
So, one reason why it's still on dates to be determined is because you all have requested it to come back to you.
Oh.
However, Public Works keeps delaying any movement on that, so staff just doesn't have the information. But Public Works is aware of the project, it's just, we don't have the information yet.
Okay.
We are not a priority.
And then at this,
2021, wow.
Oh, Let me also talk about the upcoming city council
Oh,
items.
thank you.
July is Parks Make Life Better Month, and we do have a proclamation happening this upcoming Monday, July 8th, at the city council meeting. So if you are available, we would love to have you there. And then at that same meeting, there is the annual resolution to have a beer and wine garden at Fiesta that will be considered. But the first one is the one I really wanted to highlight. So if you are available, please come. The recognitions start at 6:30, not 7. So it's just to keep that in mind. And we might be the only recognition that day.
I think we're the only recognition, so.
Okay.
And I also want to clarify, I say it starts at 6:30. There is a closed session that happens before, so
Okay.
it could start later. But
Hey, as long as I don't have to wait till 1:30 in the morning.
yes, I am not asking for you to show up for a midnight agenda item. It will happen early, and it would be wonderful for all of you to be there.
And I'm very sorry, Adam, I have one very minor correction. Actually, it's a major typographical correction. Parks Make Life Better, exclamation mark, month.
I don't think that's in the logo.
It is in the logo.
Oh, it is, okay.
No, it is in the logo. Once you said it, I can see it, yes.
Let the record show. Yeah. Okay, that's great. So now, let me see, we just need to receive and file everything that we just did. Do we have a motion to receive and file our calendar and upcoming items, agenda items list with adjustments?
So moved.
Second.
So I have a motion by Peters. I have a second by Commissioner Mohammed.
Okay.
I don't have a button. I
the
don't know, none of the
buttons.
buttons are showing up.
Yeah, the button didn't show here.
Lost our buttons.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Move it along.
So I also don't have a button, so I will say aye.
You're gonna push your button.
I don't know if he's pushed it yet.
I haven't pushed it yet.
Oh, you haven't gotten it? Oh, okay. So much for secret ballot.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Peters, seconded by Commissioner Mohammed, to approve as amended the Parks, Recreation, and Community Service Commission 2024 meeting calendar and the upcoming agenda items list with adjustments. And you may start voting.
I don't have any,
Okay.
so I'll say aye.
Aye. And Chair
I
Leonard
will say aye.
and Commissioner Bond.
Aye.
System's being really weird tonight.
Okay, thank you very much. We have another public comment section for items not on the agenda. Do we have anybody else who's come forward?
You do not.
Thank you. Items from members and staff. Staff.
Yeah, so I just had, like the two items, one was going to be the recognition on Monday. I hope you all can come. I know Commissioner Alexander, I think, is out of town, but hopefully you all can come. And I was also just, I don't know if any of you heard at the last council meeting, the council gave direction for us to provide childcare at the council meetings. So that'll be starting actually on July 8th, if anyone signs up. So.
What is the sign-up process for that?
So we created classes on ActiveNet, and then the city clerk and Dustin from the communications office are promoting it. And so they can just go into ActiveNet like they're signing up for a class. If you go in there, you can see childcare for council meetings, and they just sign up and register, and it's free. But they do have to sign up 72 hours beforehand. And it's, only children that are potty trained and 5 years of age or older. And they need to be attending the meeting. They can't just drop their child off and go have dinner downtown.
And where are the children going to be?
They're going to be in the Patakia room. So that'll be starting on July 8th. It's going to be, they told us to try it for 6 months. And so we'll be trying it for 6 months for the rest of this year. And we'll see how it goes and take it from there. So I can provide updates on it in the future and let you guys know how it's going, if anyone's taking advantage of it in the future meetings. But just thought I'd share with you that came out of the last council meeting last week.
Happy to hear that it's been reinstated.
Okay.
I don't think it was heavily used before, but it was an option to allow people to attend and be heard at public meetings. So.
Right. So I will turn it over to Danny Goins.
Good evening. A couple updates. Lindbergh is starting, concrete is starting next week. Right now, the anticipated open date is August 12th. So, update for Lindbergh. Blair Hills, if you've been by there, we have seeded it, the grass is growing, so our process now is mow, water, mow, water, mow, water, until it's really been established, and then we will open it. We're hoping about 4 weeks from now, 4 to 5 weeks, so. Right now, it's doing very well.
Yes.
We are having senior pool manager interviews starting on Tuesday. We have prioritized all of the plunge staffing priority list to HR. So we're excited to get that on. That is a full-time position. So we are interviewing for that on Tuesday. We did recently hire a new plunge coordinator, Graciela Galvan. She's been a pool manager with us for a long time, so we're very excited to have her on. Camp is going very well. Staff is doing an amazing job. The kids seem very happy. Parents have been happy. Minimal call-outs, which is a big deal for us, especially right now with staffing. We are slowly getting new staff on as we go. It has been slow progress. We have actually hired quite a bit, but just the process of getting hired and onboarded takes a little longer. But as they come on, we are immediately putting them into, most of them are camp and moving from there. We also have an irrigation technician that was approved by council. Again, as I just stated, the priority list, we did put everything for the plunge ahead of that. So as soon as HR is ready, we are ready to start recruiting for that. That is all I have for this evening.
Okay, Francisca?
Hey, hello, everyone. A couple of updates. I'll start off first with the Age-Friendly Initiative. And just to give some brief history, back in 2019, the city took on an opportunity to look at how we were, as a city, on a holistic perspective, how we were tackling aging in Culver City. And back in 2019, a consultant was hired to work alongside with city staff to conduct a survey to get feedback from the community, which involved the 8 domains of livability, such as housing, transportation, open spaces, and building our infrastructure here in the city. So a survey was conducted back then. 446 individuals took part in the survey, and COVID hit. So now we are continuing our efforts. The same consultant is working alongside staff. Her name is Nancy Frank, and we are offering community engagement meetings to ensure that the feedback that we receive from the survey is relevant today. So we had a few meetings that have occurred, and the next meeting will be a virtual meeting on July 10th at 6:30 p.m. And we're also looking at community meetings for community provider groups, such as churches and other nonprofit organizations, service groups, to be a part of this process. So everything is moving along as scheduled. The consultant also met with key city staff, such as department heads and also divisional managers, to get some insight on what departments are currently doing for to prepare for the aging population in Culver City. Parks Make Life Better. As you all know, we are campaigning this month, and part of us celebrating, we will be offering movie screenings in the park. This Saturday, we are offering a movie screening at Veterans Memorial Park. So every Saturday, there will be a movie screening, and we hope to have you all come and visit us. The screening will officially start at dusk, so it just depends on when Mother Nature decides to kind of settle down, which tends to be around 8:15-ish. Doors open at 7 p.m., and individuals who come out will get an opportunity to just hang out. We have lawn games. We'll have some information for community members. We'll have a food truck available. And we have at certain movie nights for Culver West Alexander, the Historical Society will be there. They will be bringing out props that is associated with the movie that will be seen on that day. And they're going to pretty much assist us with a photo booth and some really nice treats. So we do have that scheduled for the end of the month. At the Senior Center, staff, they, as you all know, are pretty busy and love to always look at innovative opportunities for our older adults ages 50 and over. And the staff have organized a Paris Olympics week. So starting on July 26th, which is a Friday, staff will be offering week-long activities that is associated with the Olympics for the senior community. I do have some not so good news. Unfortunately, we had to cancel our Father's Day event. Unfortunately, we just did not receive the amount of signups that we had hoped for. Staff did do a very good job, though, of organizing an event for our fathers and our father figures. We do plan to regroup and hopefully offer some type of event that can emulate this for our fathers and father figures at a later date. We had scheduled a nice basketball showcase. We also had Michael Cooper, who is a former professional basketball player and a basketball coach. He was just recently indicted into the Basketball Hall of Fame about a month ago, who took part also in our event, or would have took part in, well, actually, I guess I should say that he did. He actually, he recorded a nice video for the fathers and the father figures of Culver City, which was really nice. We had a lot of support also from businesses in Culver City that were willing to give us some nice giveaways and gift baskets for the event. And Angel City Football Club, the women's professional basketball team, also was collaborating with us. So we had some really great things that we want to continue to build upon, and just collaboration and partnerships with other folks, organizations, is one direction that, you know, staff is really looking to head towards. So, so not so good news, but I will end on a high note. One of our employees graduated from Leadership Culver City. For those who may not know, Leadership Culver City is a 9-month program. It's a joint effort between the city, West LA College, the Chamber of Commerce, the Exchange Club, and the Center for Nonprofit Management. It's a 9-month program. And at the end of the program, every graduate, they get to present on a project that they've worked on with their groups. It was a great graduation, which occurred 2 weeks ago at Veterans Memorial Park. There were some elected officials and other representatives of the city that attended. And the employee who graduated, one of our senior recreation leaders, Enrique Robledo. So I just wanted to acknowledge him and his efforts for completing this program, which was a huge undertaking. So that's my final report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a lot going on.
Adam?
Oh, Adam.
I just have a quick reminder. So you should have received an email from the city attorney that contained an attachment called Elections Guidance for City Staff and Officials. So with election season coming up, I just want to make sure everyone received that. And if you have any questions about it or didn't receive it, please let me know. Send me an email and I can either send you the document, or if it's a question, I can pass that along to our city attorney.
Thank you. Are there any items? Yes, Commissioner Peters.
Note that I will not be here at our August meeting.
Okay, thank
Out of
you.
Okay, and then I was just going to say, today's actually the first day, or no, yesterday was technically the first day of our new fiscal year.
Woo-hoo.
So I know Adam will be doing a presentation on our budget at that meeting, so unfortunately, you're going to miss that one. Yeah, so a new fiscal year started, so we're excited about that. We do also, I just wanted to kind of call out one other, oh shoot, I just lost it. One other thing that we're going to be offering later this month. It's a pretty cool new program that one of our coordinators, Megan, I think it was in maybe her presentation, but we're going to be trying out some new sensory Saturday activities, which are, we're going to be offering sensory type play, water table and splash pad for those that need a quieter, calmer space, as well as some tactile sensory play. And the goal is to provide a fun and safe environment for children of all abilities while allowing the children to be in a comfortable environment. So those are going to be at Culver West, Alexander Park on Saturday, July 20th and Saturday, August 3rd from 10 to noon. So those are some cool, just like a cool new program that we'll be rolling out later this month that I'm excited about.
What are the times again? on those?
10 to 12 at
Thank
Culver
you.
West.
Thank you. And I'm sorry I didn't circle back to you for any of the additional items from staff. Thank you for jumping in.
It's okay, no problem.
Getting the hang of this. Okay, so we have heard from Commissioner Peters. She will not be here at the next meeting. Are there any other items from commissioners? Okay, and I just want to acknowledge the age-friendly initiative activity. I went as a member of the public, and it was absolutely fantastic, and I look forward to attending again in one of the additional sessions. And I'm very, very happy that we, again, have a full complement of commissioners here, so welcome Commissioner Bond as well. And thank you, Commissioner Mohammed, who you will always be Chair Mohammed to me, because you just continue to, you know, share your leadership skills and understanding of how things are, and I very much appreciate that. So, but next time, I'm sitting in that chair, so.
All yours.
Okay, I believe we are complete and we can adjourn. Do I have a motion to adjourn our meeting?
So moved.
I have a second by Peters. So. Now, before
I have no button.
We also have a third and a fourth if you need one.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Mohammed, seconded by Commissioner Peters to adjourn. And you may start voting. And Commissioner Bond,
Aye.
Commissioner Mohammed,
Aye.
and Chair Leonard.
Aye.
And that passes, and we are adjourned at 10:11.
Thank you, everyone. Congratulations.